First of all, what is Principle and why it's so powerful? If you remember in the first module when we discussed tools for prototyping for animations, we mentioned Figma, Adobe XD, Sketch. Also, we talked about a little bit about After Effects, but also somewhere in between we had these tools like ProtoPie, Principle, InVision Studio, and Framer. And as you can see, there is a difference between these tools. And the main difference between them is that here for Adobe XD and Figma, we have states and we just switch from state A to state B. For animation tools like After Effects, we don't have interactions. We can't just actually create a prototype, click on the button, and something will happen. We can animate that, we can show that it's possible, so probably the user will click on this button and this will happen. But this is not as powerful as like combination of interaction and animation tools. Like, let's imagine we combine Figma and After Effects. What we will get? Something like ProtoPie or Principle. Here, as you can see, Principle is in the middle. It's advanced prototyping tool. It combines interactions and animation. What does it mean? First of all, this is what you can see here. Maybe it's really hard to understand why we have like one animation here, another one here, another one here. Here's the explanation. Principle allow you to create the same prototypes and animations as Figma or Adobe XD. And you're like, well, but what's the power of this tool then? While it allows you to do the same thing as in Figma or Adobe XD, Principle has two huge advantages. They are like really huge. The first thing is you can see on the left side we have Figma or Adobe XD, and we have trigger. It can be click, tap, drag, scroll, just anything of these after delay. And we have state A and state B. And we have for state A, for the object, we have position, size, and opacity. This is what we are changing. And in the state B, position, size, and opacity will be different. And we are changing it. And it happens only between these two frames, state A and state B. And that's it. It happens at the same time. No matter what you will decide to animate, to prototype, the animation will start from here and will finish here. The position will change from 0 to 100% in the time frame you set for this animation. At the same time, if you changed size, if you changed opacity or color or just anything, it will happen with the same time frame. While in Principle, this is the first huge advantage of this tool, timing. You can set the timing for each individual parameter. As we discussed position, size, color, and all these things, as you can see, we have state A, we have state B, but it doesn't mean that in the time frame that you set, let's imagine 1 second, that the entire animation will happen in 1 second. Yes, it will happen in 1 second, but the parameters can change their values inside of this 1 second in different time. As you can see, position happens from 0 to 1 second. Size will change a little bit later, not from the very beginning, but a little bit later, somewhere, let's imagine, at 300 milliseconds. Opacity will start changing from the very beginning, but will stop changing somewhere here in the middle, maybe about 600 milliseconds. And the same happens with rotation, feel, and scale, and just anything what you can imagine and what we discussed already. So these are the main difference and a huge advantage of Principle. When we'll go to examples, you will see the power of it. It's huge. The second thing, it also like the same advantage that you can change for timing for each individual parameter, but also you can change easing for each individual parameter. If you remember, in Figma, you can set easings only for the entire animation, from state A to state B with ease in out. And that's it. That's the only thing that you can do. In Principle, you can set different easings for different parameters. For example, position will change like with linear interpolation, size will change with is in, opacity is out, and so on and so forth. So you can set exactly how the animation will happen with this particular parameter of the object. Not the object in general itself, but each individual parameter that will be animated. This is the power of this tool. Again, in the example, we will see that. The next huge advantage, oh my God, this is what allows you to create such amazing prototypes and landing pages like Google, Apple, Weno, you name it, you can create these amazing effects with Principle and this thing called scroll jacking. Scroll jacking means that while you're scrolling, something will happen. But in addition to the scroll itself. So you scroll down and you see that something like becomes bigger. You scroll down, then something appears on the screen. All these things called scroll jacking. You scroll, something is changing. It's not changing only the position, you just go from top to bottom or from bottom to top, but also something happens inside while you're scrolling. You can stop on one section, for example, you will continue scrolling, but action will stay with this particular element. Something will happen with this particular element. And this is how it can look like. So we have scroll, so we scroll from 0, the position of like y-axis, 0 to one particular, to the end of the page, for example. And this is what can happen. You can change the parameters of the object from here to here while I'm scrolling, change for this object the position, size, and opacity, but only when I'm scrolling to this position. Once I scrolled to this position, x1, then stop doing anything with this object and just continue scrolling. But at the same time, while you scroll, there is object 2 that appeared on the screen, and then start doing some additional stuff with these objects. Then the third object. Let me show you in the example. You already saw that, but let's go again to store.google.com and we go to Pixel 5 phone. Putting the G, now we want to know more about Pixel 5. And this is our page. I start scrolling and this is what happens. So I start scrolling, but I see that this phone goes away, we're changing position, and then we see that the size, something appears behind this phone. I'm scrolling, I'm just scrolling. If it was just scroll, then I will see just these two phones stays on the same position, and I will just change the Y position of these all elements on the screen. But I'm scrolling and the phone stays on the same position. And this circle becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. This is what scroll jacking is. Then we have mask. While in Figma, we had to create for each changing of the state of the object or of the section of the website, we had to create a separate state for this element, and on click or after delay, we're changing all these elements, and they will change their parameters in the same time frame. So you will set it, for example, 2-3 seconds, and it means that everything will change in 2-3 seconds. While here in Principle, you can change it like in 1 second, 2.5, something like that. So we scroll down, and this is what's happening. We scroll down. We can create it with masks in Figma, while in Principle it can be done even easier. This is real scrolling. As you can see, nothing is happening. We just scroll down and elements goes away. But then these lines appears on the screen. I scroll up and down and they going from left to right. So we're not just scrolling down, the element also something also is changing while I'm scrolling down. And this is exactly what we learn in this module, how to create these websites, these landing pages. In principle, pretty easy. The only thing that you have to have, of course, is your design. You have to have your landing page, so you will be able to animate that. But I will show you how to practice, even if you don't have landing pages yet. I'll show you how to create this stuff and also where to find pages so you can practice with them. But as you can see, all these things happening here can be created in principle with just one frame. Yes, without creating so many states, it will be in just one frame. As an example, let me show you let's go to principle and let me show you what we will create. So we have this kind of prototype. As you can see, only one frame here. And then we have this page. And I can hover here. I will see the elements. I will scroll down, and this element moves faster than the entire page. Then, as you can see, this line appears while I'm scrolling up and down. Then everything goes away. This element moves much faster than this one. So it creates like additional depth of field, not depth of field, but depth of this landing page. Let's scroll down. So now we reached this position. Now we'll be talking about works in this section. We don't want to take too much space of the website, of the landing page, and we also want to change the direction of the website. We want to change the dynamic of the website. And boom, starting from here, I still continue scrolling down, but we show projects from left to right, horizontally. And we can go back and we can do this like that. Then we scroll down, and these elements appears on the screen. So all these things you will be able to create in principle. This is why it's so powerful. Now let's talk about what exactly principle is. Principle, it's here. Principle for Mac, it's a macOS tool for prototyping, the most powerful one. It combines all the possible features for animations for UX UI designers, but also it allows to work with animations to create micro interactions, and you will be able also super easy in just one click to export your animations, your prototypes as GIF file or MP4 file or pro resolution video file, and also you will be able to mirror your works to your phone. And let me just take a look. So we have, let's go back. Let me switch to this camera. As you can see, I have a Principle app here. I click on that, and here I have a project. So this is my project, and I can send this project to my client. I can give my phone to a client or to my manager, so they will see what was created in terms of this website. It's not developed, it's just animation. As you can see, I'll try to, yeah. So as you can see, I just showed you the real prototype of the app on my phone, and I can give it to a client, I can give it to show it to my manager, and they will be able to see how the app look like. I can test it, I can provide user testing with this app, and also I can show it to clients so he will be impressed, like, wow, is it a real app? No, it's just prototyping, but we didn't spend too much money, his money and time, to develop this app and then to test it, and maybe it doesn't work. What will happen then? While here we have a prototype, we tested it, we see that, oh, everything is working perfectly, maybe we need to make some tweaks, and then we give it to developers. This is how powerful Principle is. Let's go here. And the only thing that you will need to do to transfer your Figma files, let's imagine like this one, you just go to Principle, you will click Import, you will select the file you want to import here, you will select the scale, in what scale it will be imported here, and just click import page or import selected frames. But we'll be talking about that in the next lesson. See you there. Before we go to the next lesson about how to import files from Figma, I want to show you some important things about Principal as well. First of all, let's talk, I don't know if you're familiar with this tool or not, so that's why I want to explain it for you from the very beginning. Maybe it will be useful for you. So, first of all, Principal allows you to create your designs directly in Principal, directly in this tool. But it doesn't have lots of things that you have in Adobe XD, Sketch, or Figma, for example. It doesn't have them because this is not the main purpose of this tool. The main purpose is to create prototypes, yeah, and animations. So that's why it's not the best tool for design, but it's really great tool. If you are not familiar with Principal yet, it's a great tool to practice, to start in motion UI design, and also you can play with some small things to understand the fundamentals, and then you will be able to super easy when you're creating your design, you already will know what you're going to do, what you're going to prototype, to animate. So when you transfer, you will know how it will work in Principal. But I want to show you how you can create simple animations first here in Principal, and then you will be able to transfer your designs from Figma, or it doesn't have integration with Adobe XD. That's a problem, yes, so that's why I suggest you to learn Figma, because it's really powerful and it allows you to easily transfer your designs into Principal. Let me show you some important things about this tool. The first thing that we need to understand, there are 5 main sections in Principal. The first section is sidebar, where you will see parameters that can be changed. You will see the artboard, it's like a frame in Figma. And also you will see, let's actually create something. If you want to create something, you go here, insert, and then rectangle, circle, super simple tools that you have in different, in Figma, for example, Adobe XD, Sketch, but they're super simple here, as you can see. You can create, draw lines or anything. So let's create a rectangle. So we created our rectangle, and now you can see that we have position for this rectangle. We have X and Y position for this rectangle. And then we have width, height, angle, which is rotation, scale, opacity, radius, fill, media. We'll talk about that when we will start animating websites. Stroke, stroke width, shadow, and all these parameters are for shadows. And also we can also set some animations, types of animations for the objects that we will have inside of another object. Also, we'll talk about this in mobile app prototypes. So that can be static, drag, scroll, page. First of all, what we need to understand that all the principles, all the motion UI design principles that I told you about in the previous sections, they apply to Principal as well, to After Effects, to anything, to everything, absolutely to any tool. What does it mean? We have state A and state B. If you want to animate something, this is our state A, and let's imagine I want to make some interaction, some animation with this rectangle. Actually, first of all, let's make stroke 1. It will be gray. The fill will be white. And also we will not add shadow first. Actually, we'll make it to 0, 0. Done. So what do we have here? We have this rectangle. Also for this rectangle, I'll change the radius to 10 or even 20. So here you have preview mode. So the first thing that you need to understand, that we have sidebar where you will see all the parameters that can be animated in Principal. everything that we discussed already. Size, position, scale, rotation, opacity, and color. And also in addition to that, you can, shadow also was included, but media, we'll talk about it later. Let's go step by step. So we have this rectangle, we created that. And this is the second important section, because in this section, you actually see your designs. When you will import something from Figma or Sketch, you will see your designs here. And in the sidebar, you will see all the layers that you have in Figma or Sketch. They will be presented here in this sidebar. So one important section is here on the left, sidebar. The second important section is this one in the middle, where you will see your designs. The third one is this section that shows its preview mode of what you have, what is selected here in the middle. I can also drag it, I can also make it on the full screen, go back, close it, and then it will be like fixed. It will have fixed position here on the right. We have mirror here, that exactly where you can transfer your prototype to your phone. But three sections we already discussed, right? Sidebar, where you will see all the parameters for this element. Then in the middle section, you will see the element itself or your designs. In the right section here, you will see the preview of your design, but also there are two other things. The first one is animate. Animate, what does it mean? That's exactly what I described to you in one of the previous lessons. When you create state B, this is our state B, I just clicked Command D, the same as in Figma. So we have artboard 1, artboard 2, and inside of it we also have layer. Remember that if you want to animate something, if you want to create connection between these two different elements inside of the state A and state B, they have to have the same name. If I change the name of it, even just one letter, we will not have connection between these two elements. But now, take a look at the animate section here at the bottom. This one, animate. Now, when I'm here, what I can do, I can change the position of this element, and I can create trigger to set the trigger how I will jump from state A to state B. It can be tap, it can be long press, it can be touch begin, it can be scroll begins, drag, hover, and auto. Auto is the same as after delay in Figma. Let's set tap or click. And then once you created that, you can set it to the next frame, like to here. You can make these connections between elements, not only artboards, but not elements. From state A, you select the element you want to go to the next frame. So you can't create this connection between element in state A and element in state B. You create it between element in state A and artboard of the state B. So here, we don't need two actually, we'll create just one. When I click on the entire artboard, we'll go to the next position. Now when only these guys are selected, we don't see anything in the animate section. To see the changes in animation, we need to click on the artboard tab here. When you select this one, you see that something is changing, and it's not something scary, it's just position. And the position is calculated here between centers of the objects. While in Figma, it always goes from the top left corner. This is where the animation starts. Here, we're changing position only from center. So let's move this element here. We changed only position. Now I want this item to become bigger. State A, it will be smaller. State B, it will be bigger. I changed the size of it. And as you can see, now we see that width and height is changing. If you remember that I told you that size and scale, they're different. And Principle shows exactly how it works. For example, we have width and height, but also they have scale. And for this element, I can also change the scale to 1.5. It means that it will not only change the size of the object, it will also change the scale of it. On the square, it's really hard to see, but let's make it rectangle, something like this. And here we have square. We changed the size. So the width is different, the height is different, but also while we change the size, let's imagine I decided to go these parameters from here, 4591. I'll make here 4591, 4591. As you can see, it's still bigger. Why? Because we changed scale. The scale here is 1.5. But also I want to show all these parameters, all these possibilities of Principle on these simple elements, on this simple animation. So we will go from here to there, or maybe let's make it in like a rectangle. Let's make it 40 by 40 with the radius 20. Now it's circled. Let's move it maybe to this position and this one here. It will be something like this. So now we change that. Also, let's change the border radius. Why not? Right to like 8 here. As you can see, radius here also changed. But in addition to that, I want to change the rotation of this element. Of this one, I will change it to here. Yeah, something like this. And rotation now appeared, like angle appeared here. In addition to that, we can animate also shadow. For this element, I want to make shadow bigger, like 40, 15, maybe 20. I will change the color of it to something like this. And this one. Maybe it's too much, 20 and 10. Perfect. This is just for test purposes, so that's why I'm showing you with this simple example. That we're changing different parameters and they all appear here. Then what else we can change? Stroke. So previously we had stroke 1, now I want to have stroke 0. We will not have stroke for the next element. And we can see that stroke width changed here as well. And we can, everything that can be animated is shown here. Now let's see what happens. Actually, let's create the animation on top again on the state B. I want to get back to the previous state. So now when I click on the artboard, this is what happens. This is what happens with this element. But you don't see the rotation because this is circle. Instead, let's get back to maybe a radius 0. So it's square. Still hard to see, right? Let's rotate it a little bit more. And in addition to that, what we will do, you select all these elements, like the time that it will take to animate the entire, to finish the entire animation from state A to state B. Just select this and drag it here. It means that the animation will happen in 1 second. 1 second. And back, if you want to see what's happening back, you click here on the state, on the animation element here, and you will see that it's happening much faster back. And you can make it even faster. Slow up, fast back. This is what's happening. Boom. All these elements. And now what's the real power of Principle? What I want to do, I want, let's imagine, to change the scale of this element in the very, very end, like somewhere here. It means that it will show me the entire animation. It will animate all the parameters, and only in the very end, it will animate the angle. Not the angle, the scale. Actually, let's make with angle. It will be funny. Boom. Boom. What also you need to understand that the time for the animation from state A to state B will take the maximum that you have here in this line. This will be the time for the entire animation. Let's imagine I said 2 seconds here. It means that the change from state A, the full change from state A to state B, will take 2 seconds. Let's click again. Boom. And 2 seconds. And we are waiting for that. But what else we can do? We can do whatever we want. We can play as we want. We will change some parameters here, some here. But also in addition to that, maybe I'll make something here. So the scale will change something somewhere in the middle of the animation. The radius will change from the very beginning. Okay. Stroke width will be changed from the very beginning. And then, I don't know, shadow, blur in the very end. Let's take a look what happens with these elements now. I click here, it goes somewhere, changes, and then only appears on the screen. So let's go back to something more realistic. Boom, boom. So it changes, something is happening in the very beginning, and only then it continues animating other parameters. This is what's happening. At the same time, as you can see here, it's a default. Default, this is our interpolation, easings. So you can set it ease in. For this element, it can be ease out. For this one, it will be spring. For this one, it will be linear. What spring is? Spring means that it will animate, like, it's called overshooting, when the animation goes from state A to state B, but it goes a little bit further and then gets back. Like, boom. Spring. So let's take a look at the animation now. This is something absolutely crazy, but I just want to explain you what's the difference between Figma and Principle. The main difference will be here in these parameters. When we'll go back, this is what you have in Figma. So let's imagine you created on top of this element, change all these parameters in state B. So this is what we have. In 1 second, all these elements will change together, like this one. This is what will happen in Figma. But when you need to go a little bit deeper into that, maybe you want to change the size a little bit later, like this one. It will still be changing from state A to state B, but now you have absolutely different feeling from this animation. Now it not moves from the very beginning. It moves to the position first, and then it changes size. Where it can be used, let's imagine you want to create model screen that appears from one particular button. And this button, this icon will be somewhere here. And instead of rotating this element, once the parameter for state B has the same values as in state A, it will disappear from here. Let's imagine I want the scale to be 0. Not 0, 1, 1, because we had 1 in the previous state. Now scale disappears from here. And I want to go to this position now. Let's take a look. I click on the icon. It goes to the center of the screen, and then it expands additional information. Maybe the information can be text. And to create this text, you will create here model screen. Then for this text in the middle, somewhere here, I'll copy this element, we'll paste it here so it has the same name. This element, all the elements that you have in this animation, you will see them in this animated line. No matter how many objects I'll create, you will see all of them here. They show you what exactly you can animate, and they show you if the animation is happening with these objects. As you can see, we have text, but we don't have animation between them. But what will happen when I set for this model screen I'll move it a little bit bigger, like this one, and it will be Helvetica Bold. As you can see, it's absolutely different, has different UI even for creating your designs here. So that's why it's better to create your designs in Figma or Sketch first, and then just to export here into Principle. So we created text, but we don't need to see this text in the state A. What we will do, we'll set opacity to 0, like this one. Now, when, oh, we selected both of them. For the second one, no, we will have 100%. So now you see that we have text here. In the animation parameters, we see that text appeared. And if I'll set everything as it is, from state A to state B, I click, and model screen text appeared already. I don't need that. I will move it somewhat to the very end. So I want this element. As you can see, while I'm hovering here, it shows me what's happening with the animation. And that's exactly what I need. So the card becomes bigger first, and only after that the text appears. And everything, the entire animation finishes with text and this size. So I click here, boom, model screen. Maybe I want to make it a little bit better. So for this text, I'll make scale 1:9, so it will be a little bit bigger, smaller from the very beginning, and I'll set it here. So now the text, while the card continues expanding, continues growing, the text is also growing, and we have the same direction of animation. So that's why I will make scale even a little bit smaller. Boom, it appears together. In addition to that, maybe I'll make for opacity ease out. Perfect. And for this one, we'll keep everything the same. So we have this animation, but you see when I, let's imagine, close this model screen, the text stays on the screen while the other animation, the square, already disappeared. Let's go to this animation and let's change. The text should disappear before the entire card, before it goes away from here. So we will move it here. And in addition to that, what we will do, we'll need to create a third state if you want to animate it together with that card. But to keep it simple, we will hide it before the card disappears, somewhere here. So we go, boom, model screen. This is what's happening. Of course, this is not real animation, and this is just the example, but this is what I wanted to show you, that this section animate. So we have sidebar with all the values of the parameters that we can animate. We have the design that we have in the middle, and we have the preview here and animate section that shows you what exactly you can animate by clicking on these animation parameters. The next thing that I want to show you, drivers. Drivers are here. Boom. What we're gonna do, we will remove all the designs that we created, all these elements. We'll remove even states. So we have the object here. This maybe will be our phone, and we have drivers. Why do we need drivers? This is the fifth element that you need to understand. Sidebar, design, preview, animate, that you can animate different values of the parameters, and also drivers. Let me show you what. So I'm creating this object here. This will be, let's imagine, our phone, and it will be really big, like this one. And inside of this phone, we will have choose media, video. We can have video here. I don't have it here. I'll show you in the next lesson, where we'll be talking about how to create Apple-style landing pages. But let's imagine this is just a phone. Exactly what we saw in Google example. So we have this phone, but we made it really, really like big like this one. Let's make it even black. This is our phone. Okay, great. Perfect. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this element, and it said change any layers horizontal or vertical properties to create driver. So this is our artboard, and it says change the horizontal or vertical elements. Inside of this artboard, this is just like a frame, but we can't interact with this frame. We have element inside of it. What I'm going to do, I'm going to select here horizontal or vertical. I'm going to select vertical, and it will be scroll. Once I set scroll here, it created group scroll window, and inside of this group we have this element. Now everything, even including this scroll window, can be animated here in drivers. How it works? That's exactly how I showed you the power. The huge benefit of Principle is that you can create scroll jacking. So we have these elements, we have this phone inside of this group, and now I can click here and I'll see all the parameters that I can animate. And here, because I want this phone to become smaller, let's go back, exactly what we had here, like this one. So we have phone somewhere here, and then it becomes smaller. How to create that in Principle? Let's go to Principle. So for this layer, for this phone, we're changing scale. We'll scale it down. And what does it mean 0 here? 0 is the position while you're scrolling. When you scroll down this element, this is what will happen. I scroll down and this element goes away. And you think like, why it doesn't go away? Because we have clip sublayers for this group. We click clip sublayers. Now we have this element. We kind of scroll down here, and this is what will happen. But what I want to do, I want to change scale of this element, but also I want to change, I don't want to change the position. I will scroll down, and it means that the position of my phone will move up, but I want to keep it on the screen here in the same position. So that's why center Y, I want to stay here. So I set the values for my animation for state A. This is my state A. Then my state B, I want somewhere here, when I scroll to 200 pixels, when I will start scrolling and 200 pixels will go away. I want the position, the Y position of this element of my phone. Where is that? Oh, I set for scroll window. This is not right. So I will select the layer inside, and for the layer, center Y. So I have the center Y. I will go to 200, 300 pixels. And now for center Y, for this phone, I'll set it in the middle. It means that while I'm scrolling, it will stay on the same position. But at the same time, scale, I want you to scale down, scale here, not to 0. I want to set it 1. Now it's too small. 1 and 3, 1.4, 135. Perfect. This is my phone here. And what's happening? Now when I scroll down here, like to show, the phone will stay in the middle, but it will become smaller and it will go away. Now let's go to our element here. I start scrolling here, but nothing happens. Why is it so? Because we don't have any elements outside of our group, outside of our window here. So it means that we will need to create something like a background. It can be absolutely empty group or element. So what we can do, we can just duplicate this group here. We'll remove this element. We have this empty group, and I will make this group really big like this one. Now go show preview. No, because we don't have any elements inside, it doesn't show. Let's create field 1, and this will be our background. We will call it background. So now we created this background, we moved it inside of our scrollable element. It's inside of our group that allows us to scroll. We go to preview, and when I scroll down, as you can see, I scroll down, and this phone is moving down as well. And then it disappears somewhere there. Boom. This is what's happening here. I scroll down, and this element disappears. Let's set just anything, maybe an image. Let's go to Unsplash. We will have some. No, this image is not good one. We need something landscape style. Like this one, perfect. So I'm going to copy this image. Actually, I'm going to save this image somewhere on my computer, somewhere here. And then when I go to principal, layer, media, choose media, I select this element, open, and now it's inside of my element. Now I go to preview. I'll make it a little bit bigger. I'll make it like this one. Actually, you know what? I'll make the entire board not bigger, like this one. Yeah. Here, even if I'll change something here already, it will just change the artboard, and I'm not able to make it bigger. So that's why from the very beginning, think about your animation, about the size of the elements that you are going to create. Go to show preview, and now, and as you can see, I scroll down, it becomes smaller and goes away. As you can see, these are 5 main parameters, 5 main sections in Principle that you need to know about drivers, animate. So all of them are here now. So we have sidebar with all the values that you can change. We have design in the middle, somewhere in the middle here, that where you can see what's happening actually with your design. On the right side, we have preview where we can see what's happening with our animation. At the bottom here, we will see all the values that we can change or that are changed from state A to state B to see the animation. And at the top, we have drivers that allows you to change some parameters in Principle for the element, for the object while you're scrolling. It can be horizontal scroll, it can be vertical scroll. But in most cases, of course, it will be vertical scroll. So these are all things that we will discuss in the next lessons. So this is just a preparation for you, so you will understand a little bit better the interface of this tool in the last lessons. We will know how to export your design from Figma to Principle, and then how to create mobile app prototype and also landing page that allows you to create all these crazy changes while you're scrolling. See you in the next lesson. Now let's talk about how to export your designs, how to export your works from Figma or Sketch into Principle. Because we are working mostly in Figma, so we will be doing that from Figma. Let's go to Figma first. Let's open it. And we have our design and we want to animate that. I will show you step by step how to avoid different mistakes, what to keep into consideration when you are exporting your designs from Figma into Principle, so you will know everything about that. So I have here my post that I created for Instagram, and I want to create super seamless, smooth animation in Principle, because Figma has this lag when we are switching, even if when we are setting after delay 1 millisecond, we see this small lag. How to avoid that? It's better to animate it in principle. So I have my animation of these circles here. And of course I can select them directly from here and export it to Figma. But what we need to know about export it to principle. But what we need to know about exporting to principle, that everything, absolutely everything in your designs will be converted into the image, and then you will see only images in principle. So all the layers that you have inside of Figma, all these layers that you have ellipses here, they will be transformed, converted into the image. And you are animating only images in principle. This first thing that you need to understand. To convert your image, your layers into images, it takes time. So the less layers you have in your design, the faster it will be imported into principle. The next thing that you need to understand, the less in general frames you are going to export to principle, the faster it will be. So in this case, when you need to animate just one thing, you don't need to import the entire file. Let's imagine we have here waves animation. We go to principle, we click import, Figma, not Sketch, Figma, and here we have waves animation. I can select different stuff, but waves animation. These are our artboards that I opened in Figma. I clicked waves animation. Then I set 3x. What does it mean? When you're creating anything in Figma, for example, you have the size of it like this one, this regular Figma post. But usually when we are creating, for example, mobile apps, we set it like 375 by 812. These are our regular size for them. Yeah, let's make it different color. This is our regular size for mobile app. It's 375, 812. But because Figma, not Figma, Principle converts it into images, it means that when we are going, for example, to show our prototype on mobile phone that has the real size is 3 times bigger, 3 times 165. So it's somewhere here, 165. Okay, anyway, so 3 times bigger. This will be the real size that we will see on the phone. So if you want to have a really high quality prototype, then export it from Figma to Principle with 3x. Otherwise, when it will be 1x, it means that the size will be 375 by 812 instead of the bigger one that is a real size phone. So that's one thing to keep into consideration. The second thing is import page or import selected frames. What does it mean? It means that if I click import page, it will try to import all the frames that I have here, all the images, all the frames. And it will take almost forever to import all this stuff here from here, because we have lots of frames, lots of layers that have to be converted into images. So that's why if I need to import only a couple of elements just to show the prototype, the animation for particular elements, then I will select just one frame and import selected frames. I click here, I will wait, and then I will see the, not animation, the files that I have there. Now when you'll take a look at all these elements, as you can see, we have the same names, ellipse, but now it's just image. It's image here because I can change the, for example, when I'm going to change the stroke, it's just the rectangle of the image. It doesn't have the ellipse inside of it, just the image. Keep it in mind because we are working with images here in Principle. You can create, if you want to add additional elements, you can use everything that Principles allows you to create. these elements will be real vector elements. Everything else that you're exporting from Sketch or Figma into Principle, they will be images. But you can still animate them, so no worries. So you exported it from there, right? And now you have these elements. Now you can start working with that and animate it if you need it. For example, for this animation, sometimes what I'm doing also, I go to Figma, I copy the particular element that I want to animate, I create another artboard for that, another file, like this one, and I don't have anything else but just this file. Then I go to Principle, and now I understand that even if I click if it will be misclick, I will click Import Page, I will still get this one file. This is really cool because it allows me to avoid mistakes that I'm doing. So what I'm going to animate will be in the separate artboard, and I can even name this file as, let's imagine, name of the app, prototype, and only artboards, only frames that I'm going to animate, only them will be there. Now I'm here, I'm imported, I have this file here. Now I'm going to animate that. I'll just, in this case, I understand that I don't want to drag all the animations from Figma. Some things I can animate inside of the Principle. So I will just take this element from here. I'll make a copy of it. I'll scale it down for this one, and I'll create another one, and we'll make it bigger, 1.5, like this one. So basically I have absolutely the same file here, but now I know exactly that I just changed scale. Now I don't need to remember all the sizes that I created for these waves, all the position elements and all this stuff. The only thing that I'm going to change is opacity and scale. This is what I already created. What I'm going to do here, in this case, I'll create just auto, go to here, and then auto from state A to state B, from state B to state A, auto go back. But to go back, we need to create the animation first. We will not have this element here, so I'm changing opacity to 0. And on this one, I'm changing the scale of this element to, I'm going to make this element bigger, and also I will remove that, while this one I will set to 1. For the previous element, I'll set to 1.5. So we are growing them step by step. And for the last one, the biggest one, I'm going to make it 3. 3, maybe too much, 2, 2.5. Perfect, like this one. I'll change the opacity to 0. Done. So now I see that some animation will happen here. Let's go to waves. I'm going, once we reached state B, I want to switch back immediately to state A. So that's why I'm setting the time to switch back to 0, actual 0, not 1 millisecond. And for this one, I'm going to change all these parameters in 1 second, or maybe 2 seconds. And as you can see, once I reveal the button, you see the animation at the top here. And now I can see what's happening. And as you can see, we still have this kind of lag. It's not lag, actually. These are our animation here. These are our easings, easing out. So that's why I'm selecting all these elements from here and click to linear. Now when they change to linear, when I go here, I see absolutely smooth animation, exactly what I used in my Instagram post. But this lesson is not about that. This is just like a bonus section for that one, how to create animations for Instagram post. Then you just click here, record. Once it's recorded, your export is this video as video export, and then upload it to Instagram. But we are talking about how to import files from Figma and Sketch to Principle. Let's go back and discuss some additional stuff. So we already know that it's better to take the element, to take the frame that I'm going to export, or frames, and bring them to absolutely separate file that we will know we will be using only these particular frames in our animation in Principle. But also, let's go back to our Figma file. What we are going to export something really big, and then how to work with that. First of all, also you need to understand that all the layers, all the groups, all the frames that you have inside of your parent frame, all the frames will be converted into groups. All the groups will stay groups. All the layers will be converted into images. You're right. And if you have anything under the mask, with the mask, it will also be converted into the image. This is what you need to understand as well. So let's imagine I have here this responsive website, and this is my website from here, and I'm going to click from here. I selected this element. For the prototype, what I would do, I would just copy it. I would create another file. I'll paste it here. Then go to Principle, import selected frames. But in this case, I don't need, it's already huge, so I don't want to make it bigger. It's already the size of the browser. So I clicked import selected frames, or import page, because I put it there already. And as you can see, Figma is generating 199 images. It will take a lot of time, not like huge amount of time, but about 2-3 minutes maybe, to import it here. So if you can minimize the number of layers inside of Figma, do that. Because you're going to use it only for prototyping, you don't need to have all the particular small details. Maybe some elements you can combine into one image, because it will be used only as image. So we go here, we have this image, and we are not going to animate it anyhow, but we have all the layers inside of it. So what I'm going to do is, inside of this frame, I'm just going to click here, frame, object, rasterize selection. So now it's just one image instead of all the elements. Now when I click this one, I go to Principle, import, untitled, import selected frames. And now it's not 199 files, not 199 images, but only 180. And I can do it with all the elements that I have that I'm not going to animate here, and convert them, rasterize that elements, convert them into images inside of Figma, and the export will be much, much faster. This is what you can do. This is what you can keep in mind. Of course, I don't know, I can go through all of them, but probably you don't need to see all these elements. Actually here, I want to animate the text, definitely 100%. So I want to group it, put it separately from all other elements, but all these layers, rasterize selection, done. I will do the same. I will take text from here. I will group it separately. I will take all the images from here, and then object, rasterize selection. The same with all the elements. Group, outside of the group, I'll select all these guys, object, rasterize. I selected something wrong. Yeah, probably because of that. Rasterize selection, done. And I can do it with all the elements that we have here. I'm not going to animate, for example, anything here. Rasterize the entire testimonial. Then this section, maybe for this section, I'm going to, these elements appear separately one by one. So I'm going just to rasterize, please click, to rasterize them separately. 1 object, 2 object, 3. Done. This entire section. Image here. I'm going to animate, for example, text separately from images. I'll keep them as it is. Here, I'm not going to do anything except this group. I want to be outside. Everything else is just image. Done. Now, when I click select, principal, import selected frames in the same size, only 60 images. So we cut it into like almost 5 times. Now it's 5 times smaller. So it will take less time for Figma to generate these images and for Principal to import them into Principal. And once it will be done, you will be able to create all the crazy animation that you want to create with this one. So we have our files here, and all the frames groups that we had previously, we see them here. Once you exported everything from Figma, select all the elements that you have here and group them. If you want to animate scroll, group them. Group them into one file, into one group, and it will be like our home page maybe. Why do we need to do that? Because in principle, when you select this element, even when you change the size of the entire frame, the scroll doesn't appear. You can't scroll anything here. Even it's like clip sublayers, the scroll is closed. But where you can create scroll, here. When you grouped everything together, for groups, scroll is possible. Vertical scroll, done. Now change the height of this, not to 90, of this group to this one, to the size that you need. It can be 812 if you are working with mobile, or it can be 900 or 1024 for web. So now when your work is here, when you grouped everything together, you have this home page, scroll, set the height. Now you can scroll and you can animate, you can create with drivers, you can create these additional scroll jacking animations with this file. But we'll be talking about that when we'll discuss how to create Apple style landing pages. I call it Apple style because everyone loves Apple websites, and we will create actually one of the pages that Apple has with all the animations. Yeah, this is how you work with files. This is how you export your files. If you don't have designs yet, if you don't have mobile app designs, if you don't have websites yet, and you just started working with motion design, where you can find these animation, not animations, files to export and play with Principal. Go to Figma community, then go to mobile design or web design. Let's go to mobile design, for example. Just scroll here and find the app that you want to try to animate. It can be this one, card templates, or it can be the entire app, like Foodie app UI. Just click here and download. Once you will click that, you will see view here. Click on the view and you will see the app that this guy created specifically for you. Huge thanks to him. So you will see that it has website, it has responsive website. So you will be able to animate the entire landing page, but also you can play with mobile app as well. You just can select the elements that you want to animate, select them, go to Principal. Let's remove drives from here. Let's remove this element from here. Click import. Food delivery, yes, from here. In 1x, no, 3x, because this is the real size of the mobile screen because I'm going to open it in my phone then. That's why I'm clicking 3x. And I click import selected frames, not import page. If I click import page, it will take all the frames that that page has. Import selected frames. Wait a little bit, only 33 images. It will take about maybe 20-30 seconds. And then once Figma generated all these 33 images, they will appear here. Boom, you have the app now. You have the app, and now you can start playing and animating that. On tap, on this entire card, not on long press, on tap, go to state B. On tap, go to state B. And as you can see, everything is broken here. Why? Because all the layers have different names and different positions already. To fix that, we will discuss everything in the next lesson, but to fix that, you can just simply even put the elements, and now it can be much easier. So it means that if the animation is still jarring, like this one, some elements appear from somewhere, like these guys, it means that these elements have the same name somewhere in this artboard already. This is the final thing that you need to keep in mind when you're exporting files, that all your layers names should be unique. Unique for each particular element. If you're gonna animate that, the state A should have the same name for the element in the state B. Like group 1, group 1. You don't need, not like need, you're not allowed, if you want to create good animations, you're not allowed to have group 1 somewhere in the state A or state B more than one. Group 1, that's it. Just only one group 1 per state. This is what you need to understand. The same name for state A, state B, and unique names across the state. In this case, it will save you lots of time, lots of nerves, and you will understand that, yes, now it's clear. Now I can create that and I will not have problems. You have all the information now to export your designs, or even maybe not your designs, from Figma into Principle, and you can start animating them. It doesn't matter what it will be. You can just start playing with that and you will see that it's really, really cool. Like this one, image 101, and for this one, image 101. The same name for files. It means that it will animate this image. In this case, when I click on the card, it goes exactly from here. And then when I need to click back, I'll click tab, back, boom. If I want to create something even crazy for this animation, for this element, maybe I will decide to rotate it angle, boom, 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 to 360 degrees. So it stays on the same, but when I click this one, I click boom, boom. This is really super weird, but we're just playing. Have fun, always have fun with your animations, because if it doesn't bring you joy, you will not love design in general. Like this one, it's pretty fast. Now I just want to make this animation, lots of them here. So to select one particular image here, can you please move a little bit slower, like in 1 second instead of like 300 milliseconds. Now I go here, back, click, whoop. This is how you create your animations. You just start playing with layers. The more you play, the faster you learn. The faster you learn, the more you practice, the more you can do, the more confident you are, the faster you become better as a designer. And also, the easier for you to sell your skills and to sell your works. See you in the next video.